You don't know how hard it is to be one of a kind. You don't know how hard it is to be one of a kind, the only one. You wouldn't have a clue. You may think you'd know, but you haven't got a clue. You haven't got a clue. You haven't got the evidence neither. You can't back it up with anything. Even if you try to say you're one of a kind, you have nothing to back it up. Watch these videos from this post. You want to know the truth about me? I'm the only one of a kind worldwide. One of a kind on every study done. The biggest think tank in the world, the biggest mastermind reports, law and order documents, authorities, mental health research, DNA study. I am one of a kind on every single study done. One of a kind on every single document. I left my mark on earth. There's no one else in the world like me, not even remotely close. There's not one human being on earth remotely close to me. 50 meters of documents you can read. FI the documents, because there's solid evidence with every single thing about me, nothing suppressed. With God-like power in every study done. With God-like power in every single study done. With divine power to command nature, with miracles in hospital and the most divine interventions ever recorded in modern history on CCTV and peer reports. The most powerful confirmation through 6 international events with border security and the most sophisticated security system in the world. I write 3 official documents that when I get unlawfully deported, I'm going to fold space and time in a glitch with evidence in the most sophisticated security system in the world, and then I do it backed up with solid evidence, and it's done. The most powerful confirmation on earth, and nobody cares. Everybody lies about me. Not one human being is telling the truth about me, but every single thing is documented, and they know I'm the only one. The governments know. The authorities know at every top level I'm the only one of a kind. I'm sitting under Interpol in Denmark, unlawfully deported from Australia, and they're watching me 24 hours a day. They're watching me 24 hours a day and suppressing me at the same time. But they'll never shut me down because they're watching everything I do, okay, and trying to rob my contents with mind control weapons like they're doing worldwide. You know, the conscious singularity. They use radio waves to try and steal your contents with the abilities you have. And I have mental telepathy, ESP, remote telekinesis, levitation, spoon bending, clock winding, following space and time with deja vu. The biggest mastermind on every one of their reports, on every single document. But they can't steal my contents because I didn't give them consent. And I don't think with a mind. I'm not trapped in the personality with mentality. I think outside the mind and use 100% of my brain. Every Western in the whole world can only use up to 15%. 7 to 10 on average. They cannot use master their mind and use 100% of their brain. Only 113 people in the world can. Recorded by CIA documents and disclosure as well. I've put that video up many times on my own platforms here. The Mastermind Report. Okay, people that can use their brain 100% of the time with supernatural power, superhuman abilities, coding their own DNA with genetic memory and genetic ancestry tools when they make the right decisions and follow the right bloodline in DNA, the book of life. And they found the last human beings on earth that follows the right bloodline with the genetic process and genetic memory that can do every single thing that I can and more. And I'm primordial being number 1 worldwide, the only one of a kind that teach the resurrection and the crossover to go back in your primordial state, the only one of a kind. Watch my platform, watch the testimonies of my followers. With the book Freedom by Jim Biggins, the Holy Grail of Life, and we're not breathing the Holy Breath of Life. Genetic memory, genetic crossover, back in the ancestry tools, back in their primordial state, not trapped in their mind mentality and limited all the time and oppressed and suppressed, but free from the human condition and every single thing you suffer. So there's no more pain, stress, fear, and anxiety, confusion, frustration, illusion, or paranoia, and no more death experience. Everybody else is trapped in mentality, right, with stress-related diseases, prematurely dying, and every single Western white on any clockwise in their body cells. Their body cells, their auras only working 1 to 5%, okay, during the daytime, and they're going corruption collusion during the daytime. In DNA with no aura, it's collapsed between 95 and 99% in every single Westerner, anti-clockwise, with 600 to 6,000 defective genes in every one of them. And now 77% of all Westerners' children, as declared worldwide, is born with chronic diseases, hereditary chronic diseases, because they're a species in denial, live in their mind, right, in brain-locked denial with amnesia, trapped in a reincarnation trap and keep coming back like a fool. With a voice of mind that tells them to do that, it's been ultimately designed for extinction declared worldwide by Jeremy Gibson and 16,000 scholars. The Holy Grail of life, the natural selection of life, the natural order, with longevity, to live to be 1,000 years old and never suffer the consequence ever again. Just like biblical history, it's coded in our DNA. Christ was teaching us this and he knew, and nobody else did. They didn't listen to him because they're idiots, okay? Because they have no spirituality, only mentality. With artificial intelligence by atheism, anti-clockwise, okay, with evolution mutation, so they mutate from generation to generation with artificial intelligence and normalize what's more yesterday non-stop and keep twisting the paper tooth to suit themselves in their own little comfort zone. That's why they're post-humans and can't use their natural selection since 1960. With their natural organic motor skills, natural selection, natural order in life, their genetic memory with 130 nucleoside molecules with genetic repair clockwise. Without mental telepathy, ESP, remote and telekinesis, levitation, spoon-bending clockwise, folding space and time with deja vu, dimensional thinking, with multiple perception. In a universal layer, you see in the movie Limitless, choose 100% of your brain with a vortex of information with 7-fold wisdom knowledge. You see right there in front of your face with a clarification. That's where you're clear when you think outside the mind, like Keanu Reeves in the Matrix documentary, who controls his vessel from the outside in instead of the inside out, and beats resurrection and don't suffer mental disorders and DDVX, and respond 7 times busting you think, like Bruce Lee can mastermind by 24 blindfolded, and respond 7 times busting you think. And block can be punched from 12 people black belt karate, blindfolded, and respond 7 times busting you think. Like a child can master a computer game between 3 and 7, respond 7 times busting you think, and anyone with IQ. Because a child's a genius, clockwise, in his body from 0 to 7. Then he goes anti-clockwise for the next 7 years. He gets mentally seduced, with the boy's mind telling him to do that. Then it's not like Bruce Lee and can't use his sixth sense or any of his natural selection and abilities. He becomes a robot, thinks his parents are dinosaurs, and then he lies to his kids. Okay, when the boogeyman come, the monster in the bed, the shadows, the angelic beings, the ones who manipulate you in school. So you're mentally institutionalized, you lie to your kids and tell your kids, oh, it's just a boogeyman, it's just a dream, go back to sleep. Because you're possessed by it. That's why they can manipulate you in seconds in the door. When you're 24, the people that run this world can manipulate you in 10 seconds flat at the door. And the child runs accordingly because they can feel the truth with their sixth sense. And they don't like the demons, the monster in the bed that controls you and the personality that comes to your door. So they run to the corner when they're innocent. And when I walk down the street in raggedy clothes, your dog and your child will run straight out to the front door before I open my mouth because they can feel me with their sixth sense that I'm positive and not negative. Right, that I'm in my primordial state. And they can always feel someone with spirituality and mentality. And that's how you know that the whole world's delusional in mentality, in their reality, in their personality, not in spirituality. When you're one of a kind in the whole world, on 7 massive peer reports in the biggest Star Jump inquiry and the Gatekeeper report, you're number 1 worldwide on 17 current affairs shows, the biggest mastermind in the world, who knows manipulation and how to reverse manipulation and reverse psychology, who knows how to unravel the system and even get to sign into on reverse psychology, because I'm clockwise 24 hours a day with the most authentic DNA in the world, the most authentic mindset, the most natural selection, the most natural order. Because when you select naturally with your natural organic motor skills and your natural order, you never fuck up. You don't make a mistake. You learn. You learn things you never learned before in your life when you clock over. When you're clockwise, you have an outside influence that's 10 times more powerful than your reality. The picture that tells you 1,000 words cannot lie to you, because everything else in the world, in this world, does on anti-clockwise mentality. and self-centered behaviour, religious, politically old, and New Age cults that's got no fucking idea what they're doing. They can't think outside the mind. They're too shit scared, controlled by stress, fear, and anxiety, and their body cells can corrupt collusion during the daytime. Because the mentality is in corruption, collusion during the daytime, in a massive global delusional state, in a 5 sense world, on a screen all day. Okay? Artificial intelligence and competitive tools. Live in their own mind, come to their own conclusion with reasoning. Inside their conscience, a mental process and illusion imagination, set up by the Rockefellers, into a conscious thinking laid by the WF. Mind control. And the words under mind control, and do what they're told. Do exactly what they're told. Because they need Babylonian beast. They need the beast system. And they depend on the Babylonian beast system. On every single thing they do, on every level that they go into. Over-exaggeration. Mind control weapons. He said, she said, the document said. And that's all they got faith in. The documents. They think the documents evidence. And I can manipulate that in 10 seconds flat because you can't feel the truth. And you can't feel the truth and keep your relation together in real life. Look at your family lives and friends in real life. Have a good look at you behind closed doors. We know who the fuck you are. You don't. And you don't know who other people are neither. Because you judge them mentally, conquer, debate, divide, and mentally resonate. Because you got no codependent, intuitive, codependent power. You EMP pulse with remote viewing, mental telepathy, ESP, telekinesis, levitation, spoon-bending, clock winding, folding space and time with deja vu, and dimensional thinking because you can't feel the truth. Because only your feelings for your body cells gives you the outside influence in the most positive fields, in the 27 biofields. You live in a 5 sense mentality, in a reptilian mentality, in the 23rd seed, right, in the 23rd chromosome, and your 24th in dormancy. Look at cellular study research. You will see it there. That gives you godlike power, supernatural power, superhuman abilities that you cannot use. Imagine you're the only one. You don't know what it's like. You haven't got a fucking clue what it's like to be me. And you never will. And you should thank your fucking lucky stars you're not me. Because to be me is the worst fucking shoes to be in the whole world because you've got the world on your shoulders. The whole world's on your shoulders because you're the only one of a kind that God developed like this with the resurrection of humanity, with the crossover, that can do what Christ can and more. The only one. And when you find out you're the only one, and you sit down and have a 6.5 meeting with the top experts in the world on every level, and in a 34-year study and 16 years of DNA study, and they sit down with the biggest think tank in the world and tell you straight to your face, Kim, you are the only one of a kind. You are the absolute primordial being number one that can do every single thing that Christ can, including bringing Kirsty Nasty back to life in 1992, 3 times with the peer reports, and CCTV, Kim, the biggest miracle ever recorded in human history. We know you brought her back to life. She wrote the most powerful poem to the one and only she told us. We interviewed her and your brother that was sent back from heaven to earth because of you when he died, and the others as well. We've done an interview with all of them, Kim. And it's astonishing when we hear stories that they're sent back from heaven to earth because of you, Kim, or brought back to life because of you, Kim. And it's the only study worldwide with these miracles that we've ever done and seen anything like this. Kim, you were powerless from your neck down, couldn't walk. You died for 23 minutes a third time. Powerless from neck down, could not walk. You got up and walked down. We can now prove with your Neuralink you were dead and powerless from neck down and should never been able to walk in, but you got up and did it yourself. Kim, the miracles behind you and the studies we've done, the biggest mastermind reports, you just signed laboratory class that no one thought of, that took a 14-hour process down to 3.5. You created the drug on every testing centre across Australia that brought people back in the primordial state and created the biggest mental health research in DNA. And your DNA, Kim, you're the first one that found the cure your mechanism in your DNA that we found in you in 2008. In the biggest study ever done. In prison, Kim, we found the cure of the human condition in 2008 in your DNA that led the research to discover with your drug on every testing centre across Australia. And when people came to prison with the same adverse effects with DNA to start to preserve DNA, to go into self-preservation mode and activate in such a way with the genetic repair kit. And we saw this in hundreds of people on the same drug that you developed in the Star Chamber inquiry. We realise it's the most powerful truth in the world that brought people back in the primal state and brought down the highest atomic killing bonds and misfinds in 30 years. The course of the Royal Commission bang out for 23 years, and the Stone Activation Polity, and the biggest malhead research and DNA study ever done. The truth, Kim. It's your DNA, the most authentic DNA in the world, that shows us that you can do what Christ can and more, and teach others to do that with the same abilities, with the same genetic process. And it's you, Kim. We know in every single study done since 1984 when you went on the mastermind reports, since you won 17 current affairs shows as a mastermind loopholes to laws of manipulation back in 1994, since you brought your wife back to life in 1992, since you went on the mastermind reports and the most wanted in the Star Chamber inquiry, they shut the case down because you got them for corruption, Kim, for treasoning, for stealing taxpayers' money, and they were forced to shut down. Your officer goes in your favour, commence an affidavit, retires the police force, and we have a statement from him as well, and many others. You'd be surprised how many people's on your side, Kim, and how many people goes in your favour from every department. You set the model for prostitution that Peter used to revamp the laws with, that brought down the prostitution, rapes and murders, and you set the most powerful atmosphere in the southeast corner of Queensland, written by the Squeezing magazine by psychiatrists and social workers, and your officer questioned them about this, and they explained why, Kim. You had a relationship with everyone. You had everybody under your wing. 99% of people can throw stones at you and judge you as a mental person and a freak of nature. We know that. But the 1% that has faith in you, you have more relationship and change more circumstances than any human being we've ever seen on earth, in the most powerful documents to back it up, Kim. We've been watching for 34 years. You're the only one of a kind. Imagine you're told this, and you have every single document to back it up. Every bit of evidence created like this, in every study done. How would you feel? How do you think you'd feel when you know that 99.99% of Westerners throw stones at you because they're that artificial, have no feelings, no care factor, and no faith at all, that I'm the one developed like this and the only one of a kind? I'm the son of Christ, son of David, son of Abraham, with genetic memory, and I can do everything Christ can and more, and teach people to do the same thing as he taught the disciples to do. The same way he taught them, I teach people the same way, with a crossover in 40 days and 3.5 year transformation, a genetic transformation, right? Going through a transformation for 3.5 years and waking up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap to do everything I can and more. And there's nobody else in the world that can teach that. I'm the only one. And everybody voiced me the most. Imagine how the Father really feels when he develops you like this and he controls your vessel from the outside in and not controlled by the inside out. I am not in charge of my vessel or my human experience. It's a celestial primordial being. That's why you told the Bible you would not know who I am, but I come from the cave of prison with the tooth of master with fire coming out of my mouth, in raggedy clothes as an outlaw, like Christ was, a street warrior like Christ was. And that's why you're told I come from the cave of prison with the tooth of masters, with fire coming out of my mouth, in raggedy clothes with shining armour. And my shining army folded space and time in 6 international airports and created miracles beyond your comprehension and beyond your understanding, with principality in the power in the air, with divine power to command nature. Known fact on every study done. And you were told, I'll come with the moons and the stars and the signs, and biblical prophecies will land on my date of birth. And every declaration has been, 5 of them on my date of birth. 27 Holy Spirit divine light, scars for justice. 1960 King of all kings, Minaret. A pillar of salt that has the divine power to command nature. Divine power with an outside influence that you do not have. I do. And no one believes in it. They just want to see tricks like movies. They don't want to learn themselves. They just want to watch a movie and be an actor and a Hollywood actor and sit on screens all day. They don't want to learn. They don't want to cross over and go back in the primordial state to do everything Christ can and more. In the great resurrection, right in the crossover, in the rebirth, with the book Freedom by Jeremy Gibbons, the Holy Grail of Life, and Wind of Breathing, the Holy Breath of Life, the most powerful documents on earth to prove to you that you need to let DNA, the Book of Life, take care of you. because your mind doesn't know what it's doing. You are your own worst enemy. You are your own prison, your own warden at the same time. And your mind plays things games on it, and you don't even believe in it. You're beyond the point of return of majority, trapped in a personality mentality, and can only 7 to 15% of your brain. I can use 100%. Don't you think I know better? Don't you think I know better? Don't you think I know a lot better than you do? Because I'm the most righteous human being on earth with the most authentic DNA in the world and the most powerful documents to back it up. And no one believes me, not a pastor, not a preacher, not a new age, because they're trapped in their own mind with a voice of mind ultimately designed from these things, and that sounds heavenly, like Christ consciousness. It's only a middle process, an illusion of imagination, because it's only a personality, and you're living in a personality with mentality, and you can only use up to 15% of your brain with the highest IQ in the world. So IQ does not make you intelligent. It's only a mathematically to work things out with. IQ is based on 98% memory. You're living in a memory box with personalities that will tell you whatever you want to believe in when you believe in your own truth. And come to your own conclusion with reasoning. Reasoning is nefarious. Age of nefarious because it's 5 sets mentality. Trapped inside your mind with mentality and grammar. You haven't got mental telepathy, years people know you in telekinesis, levitations, booming and clockwise, falling space and time with deja vu, and dimensional thinking to think clockwise. You're anti-clockwise in biology and DNA, no matter what comes out of your mouth, because it's not in the mind. It's mathematical. It's a universal mathematical language. That's why you're a mathematical genius, to master your mind, use 100% of your brain. And I'm the biggest mastermind recorded worldwide with godlike power in every study done. And it's not a fucking joke. It's you that's anti-clockwise and controlled by stress, fear, and anxiety and delusional parasitosis with a hostile entity in your mind, with a voice of mind that tells you to do that. That sounds heavenly. You don't believe in that? Well, when you cross over, you'll know. You'll get the most powerful confirmation you've ever had in your life. But not until you do. Everybody lives in a comfort zone, in their own perception, their own narrative, without even realizing. And most don't care enough because they don't have the feelings to care. They're collapsed by 95 to 99% with their feelings. And that means their feelings are miles away from thinking instinctively outside the mind and responding 7 times faster than you think, with a natural selection, a natural order in life, a natural selection. Your natural organic motor where you can do everything Christ can and more by thinking outside the mind, because it's not with the mind. You live by the quantum mechanic of a relationship in innocence. Go back to your childhood, revise your perception, follow my footsteps with these tools, and you'll think instinctively outside the mind, and you'll be able to do what I can and more for a transformation in DNA, the book of life. And the book of life is DNA in the Bible. The book of life is a family tree. As Plato describes in 15 books, the greatest philosopher of all time. And they studied Plato and the human conditioning and DNA, the book of life, for 45 years. And for the first time in history, they found the cure of every single thing we suffer from. So there's no more suffering. That's why Jeremy Gibbons, 16,000 top scholar, says this is the holy grail of life. Because it is. The most powerful confirmation is the most powerful declaration on earth. The holy book of life, the holy grail of life, DNA, genetic memory, genetic process with ancestral tools coded in your own DNA. You got to learn how to activate it with the book Freedom to go through every rabbit hole, to stick your head for the light in a tunnel. Take the red pill and you can't go back. Once you cross over, you've been saved, and you go in a new dimension with 7-fold wisdom knowledge in a new era with 7-fold wisdom knowledge, a vortex of information. You see in the movie Limitless that comes from out of the blue, the picture that tells you 1,000 words that can lie to you, and that can help you respond 7 times faster because you don't need to think. It's a universal language. It's a universal ask archives, they call it. Okay? And you think outside the mind, and it comes to you automatically like a light bulb to you. The picture that tells 1,000 words genetic memory and genetic ancestral tools. Believe me, I know better than anyone how shit works around here, clockwise, and not anti-clockwise with what you depend on and what you believe in. Let go of everything in your mind. Let go of your personality. Go through 40-day fasting. Take zinc, iron, magnesium, vitamin C, B212. Drink liquid. Take a bit of salicylic salt. Okay, get off screens, isolate, close your eyes and do window breathing every day and go deeper in the oxygen. The holy breath of life to reactivate the neural link, the tree of life. Reset your biological clock in the center nervous system and releases molecules, 113 genetic molecules, genetic repair kit, nucleosome molecules, genetic repair kit with genetic memory. Your body cells starts to activate. Your gut feeling survival mode is a very self-preservation of life that takes too much mentality with the sacred secretion that goes into serotonin with pH level and starts to create lanolin that holds all things together with molecules and brings your biological system together. Live by the 1 year weekly, how to govern life equally. Okay? Love one another, business, person, pledge. 2 simple commandments. Compassion and good deeds. Live by it. By relationship. Don't cause people to stumble, put them back on their feet. Work with the enemy, love thy enemy, because they don't know any better. And you'll learn that the hard way yourself as you go through 40 days with isolation and get off screens. Do win up every day and listen to the book Freedom on Jeremy Goes on audio. Get into yourself. Mind your own business. Keep to yourself. Don't get in judgmental and competitive behavior. This stops your unnatural selection for 40 days. You get right into the relationship, into the sixth sense, to think outside the mind. You start to go in harmony with the most powerful confirmation on earth, the Holy Breath of Life, who's won a Nobel Prize without a credential to reactivate the Neuralink, the Tree of Life. Neuroscience, Neuralink, the Tree of Life, Jacob's Ladder. Reactivate your body cells and the sacred secretion you can conduct with. Then you get high as a kite through oxygen. You go deeper and deeper every single day, deeper on the oxygen without hurting yourself. Then you create the DMT effect, the Obius effect, the MDMA, the METH effect, alert, alive, wake and aware, with a clarification you see in the movie Limitless. Choose 100% of your brain to come right out of your vessel. And you come right out of your vessel like you see in the movie Limitless, right out of the psychedelic effect with a clarification to master the mind and write a book overnight that's brilliant and go down to Wall Street to make millions of dollars because you're a mastermind in your own vessel for the first time in history. And you can use 7-fold wisdom laws, a vortex of information out of the blue that makes you respond 7 times faster and 10 times more intelligent. Choose 100% of your brain instead of being trapped in the mind to only use 10%. Okay, it's a fact. It's a fact of life. Imagine being me, being avoided by everybody else. That's how dumb they are. They don't know what they're missing out on. They haven't got a clue because they're trapped in their mind without a care factor. So they lie to their kids at the same time and create treason with them because their body cells go corruption during the daytime. And the parents are responsible for this, for putting their kids' body cells in corruption illusion during the daytime and going to death spiral with mental disorders and defects. That's escalating, right? From generation to generation. These parents are responsible for bringing their kids up wrong without real love and bringing up with the right tools in their genetic memory. And it's a parent's responsibility for putting them in school to become mentally institutionalized so they do what they do, to normalize what was small yesterday non-stop, okay, and revolve for a revolving door of truth and the fabric of truth from generation to generation so the kids does the same thing they do because they engineer them into it. And everyone's engineered to do the same thing to their own kids. So by the time they're 12 or 18, they're mentally institutionalized, can't use their sixth sense, can't think outside the mind. Now they think with the mind, mentally institutionalized. To fact check Google themselves and call their parents dinosaurs and then lie to the kids with the boogeyman, the monster in the bed, and tell them it's just a dream because they're possessed by it. And they don't believe at the same time. They're artificial human beings worldwide, trapped in the mind mentality, can only 7 to 15% of their brain. So they can't control the vessel and use 100% of their brain. Do you understand that? We cross people over so they can. So they go back to the moral motor skills, back to a natural selection where things come to them out of the blue the same way. But most people's going to fail this because they're controlled by Baal beyond the point of return in a personality, with mentality. In Christ's consciousness, that sounds heavenly, that doesn't exist. It's only a personality. And we're telling whatever they want to be in their own comfort zone. And they'll maintain in that comfort zone because they'll never cross over like Plato describes in 15 books and as Jeremy describes because their own guilt factor and their own moral and shame hangs on to them and they won't, live in any truth at all. They live in denial because of their own guilt, moral and shame. That's why they're artificial and take no responsibility for their own action and always live in denial. And they are designed the same way to do the same thing to their kids and to lie to everyone else with the placebo effect anti-clockwise placebo effect. And they believe in anti-clockwise placebo effect, not in faith. The Rockefeller set them up with the faith dogma in 1920 to invert the placebo effect to be executed by 220 and it's got 98.7% of their body cells in their aura, anti-clockwise. Can only appear 3 hours a night. Only 1.3% is in their spirituality, right? And not in their mentality. Clockwise in their aura. No mental disorders, no defects in their spirituality, and control the business from the outside in instead of the inside out. Everybody has a trapped in mentality, in their own reality, to believe in their own truth, manifest their own truth, and come down in collision with reasoning in their mind, in their personality, and don't know what they're doing with their amnesia when they're trapped in the reincarnation trap, and they can use 7 to 15% of their brain in the highest IQ people in the world. They cannot master their own mind, use 100% of their brain. So they're not a mastermind, their own vessel. Then who is? Nefarious. That will tell them whatever they want to believe in, right, and sound heavily like Christ consciousness, and will mimic Christ, and they don't even know what Christ is. They think they do. They have no idea. Christ was an outlaw who stood against the whole Babylonian beast system and said, you're all wrong, and he's the only one that's right. And that's why I'm the only one that's right, for the same reason. I'm an outlaw and stand against the whole Babylonian beast system, the governments, authorities, and defense force, and a specially educated system designed to reverse psychology by atheism with the Rockefellers into their consciousness, conscious singularity in mind. And that's why mental disorder and defects went from 2% to 98% today. In parasites, parasitic in every one of them, with a hostile entity in the bush mind that's telling them to do that, heredity into their kids' genes. And now 77% of their kids is born with chronic diseases because their parents live in denial, declared in 2003. Anyone thinks it's a joke? They're all the same species. They're all in denial, living in their own truth. They couldn't care because they haven't got a care factor. They haven't got any love. There's no loyalty, honor, respect, morals, inspiration, government. There's no codependent, intuitive relationship. There's no soulmate relationship because they sold their soul out for a personality. They swapped their spirituality for mentality. And that's what they justify what they believe in. Religious, political, cult behavior with book-smart education, and they can't think outside the mind like Christ can and more. And we teach it, and we're the only ones that does. Imagine being in my shoes. You know what it's like to be me? I wish I was fucking dumb and stupid. I wish I was working on a gang pen somewhere or digging a hole somewhere. I'd rather be sitting in the backyard working my fucking guts out and be brain and stupid than be me. You haven't got a fucking clue what it's like to be me. When you are met with the greatest resistance and suppressed by every fucking Western in the world that's anti-clockwise and hasn't got a care factor, you know your own family, loves and friends are the same. You know what that feels like when they think you're mental and you're a freak of nature when in fact they are? When they accuse you of what they're guilty of in the most powerful document, do you know what it feels like? That every family and friend thinks you're a freak of nature because they can't do what you can, because they're spineless weak cowards and jealous, spiteful weak cowards. Godly, mild creatures all over the earth and not in the Christ image, in Baal's image. And they gave them consent. And that's the obvious they can't face. So therefore, they'll never cross over because they're trapped beyond the point of return. But they have an opportunity, and this is the last opportunity they have, to cross over before it's too late. As we go in the sixth magic season, step in the sixth sense for the sixth time. And when you're not in your spirituality, in your sixth sense, you won't be saved. That's the obvious. You have to control your business from the outside in and not the inside out, because you're in unnatural selection, unnaturally artificial intelligence. With unnatural selection, you're not natural. You're not making a natural selection. You're not righteous. You don't have the intuition to codependent power in your body cells. That's aura, clockwise, 24 hours a day. Only those people get naturally selected. As Jeremy Gibbs says, as Plato describes, as the top scholars in the world say, and as I'm telling you right now, it's a natural selection. And only the natural in their primordial state will be selected. And it doesn't matter what you think and what you say. You must cross over. You must go for the rebirth. You must be in the Christ image biologically, instinctively. And only then will you be chosen through the crossover, through the rebirth, through natural selection, with a divine intervention, divine power, and the most powerful clarification, and the most powerful confirmation, where you'll feel the truth, 10 times more powerful, high as a kite. 40 days, starve yourself, isolate, do as I tell you, practice what I preach, and you'll get a divine intervention, and you'll get taken out of your vessel through the light in the tunnel, and you see it yourself. And then you control your vessel from the outside in. Once you cross over, you go through a transformation for 3.5 years to control your vessel from the outside in, back in your primal state. That's when you're saved. That's when you cross over a new dimension. That's when you start the greatest transformation in human history. To go into a new era, into a new kingdom, to create heaven and earth. I'm telling you, Christ has a kingdom waiting for you. Okay? He has a plan for you. He has a kingdom waiting for you. And I'll show you, if you do the 40 days, you face a demon sit on that you're possessed by in the skull, as John says in Revelation, as Jeremy Gibbs says, it's in here. It's in the mind. Right there in the skull. You'll break free from your own personality and mentality, and you see it for the first time and understand things you never have. With the most powerful confirmation and most powerful love drug you've ever felt in your life, that you create the sacred secretion to conduct with, high as a kite. And I'll take you to the light of the end tunnel, and you see it yourself. Then you'll know who I am, why I'm here, and why I'm the only one that can teach the resurrection and the crossover for the great transformation to go back in the Christ image, to go back in the primal state, the image you created with genetic memory and a genetic process, with the ancestor tools coding your own DNA, and it'll come to you out of the blue. It's a wow factor. It'll leave you gobsmacked and speechless. But you'll know, for the first time in history, you'll know the truth.